Welcome to my channel, Old Worth Coin, where hidden treasures in everyday coins are revealed, and today's discovery might completely change the way you look at your collection, because we're talking about a one Eisenhower dollar that most people ignore, but collectors are actively searching for right now. And here's the shocking truth. This coin could be sitting in your drawer, your wallet, or even mixed in old change without you realizing its real value. From rare mint details to hidden errors, in high-grade condition, a simple Eisenhower dollar can sometimes be worth far more than its face value. And in this video, you're going to discover exactly what makes this coin special, how to identify the valuable versions, and why some collectors are willing to pay big money for the right one. So before you spend it or overlook it, watch this carefully because the coin you already have could be more valuable than you ever imagined. Stop scrolling right now, because the coin you're about to ignore could quietly be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars, and most people never realize it until it's too late. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious and highly collectible 1972 Eisenhower dollar with the S mint mark, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but hides layers of value that only a few people truly understand. And if you've ever seen a shiny, mirror-like Eisenhower dollar sitting in a case, a drawer, even passed down in a small collection, there's a real chance you've already come across one without knowing its true potential. Because unlike regular coins that were made for everyday spending, the 1972 Eisenhower dollar was struck in San Francisco as a special proof issue, meaning it was never intended for circulation and was created with extraordinary care using polished dies and specially prepared surfaces that give it that deep reflective, almost glass-like appearance collectors love. But here's where things get interesting and where most people get it completely wrong. Not every 1972's Eisenhower dollar carries the same value, and the difference between a common example and a high-value coin often comes down to details so small that most people never even think to check them. Starting with composition, because this coin was produced in two distinct versions, one made with 40% silver and the other made with a copper-nickel clad composition. And if you happen to own the silver version, you're already holding something with intrinsic value beyond its face. But the real money comes into play when condition enters the equation, because proof coins are graded on a scale where perfection matters more than anything else, and coins graded at PR69 or the ultra-rare PR70 level can command serious premiums in the collector market, sometimes reaching into the hundreds or even over $1,000 depending on demand and eye appeal. And that brings us to one of the most important and overlooked features of all, the deep cameo finish. A striking visual effect where the raised parts of the design appear frosted while the background shines like a mirror, creating a dramatic black and white contrast that collectors actively hunt for. And if your 1972 Eisenhower dollar shows strong, deep cameo characteristics combined with a near-perfect grade, you could be looking at a coin that stands out significantly from the rest. But it doesn't stop there, because even subtle differences in strike quality can influence value, with sharper details in Eisenhower's portrait and the eagle on the reverse often attracting more attention and higher bids. And this is exactly why two coins that look almost identical to the untrained eye can have completely different price tags in the real world. Now imagine going through an old coin collection, maybe something inherited or forgotten over time, and finding one of these coins tucked away, its surface still gleaming, its details still crisp, and without even realizing it, you're holding something that collectors are actively searching for, something that has quietly increased in desirability over the years. And this is the reality of modern coin collecting, where knowledge creates opportunity. Because the truth is, thousands of these coins exist, but only a fraction meet the standards that serious collectors demand. Which means the difference between a $5 coin and a $500 coin can come down to a single overlooked feature, and that's why taking a closer look matters. Checking the edge for that subtle silver tone, examining the surface under light to see if it has that deep reflective mirror, looking carefully at the contrast between the design and the background. These small steps can completely change your understanding of what you own. And here's the part that surprises most people. Even coins that aren't perfect can still hold solid value, especially if they're silver proofs or display partial cameo. Contrast, meaning you don't need a flawless coin to have something worth keeping. But if you do happen to come across a high-grade, deep cameo example, That's when things get exciting, because those are the coins that consistently attract attention in auctions and private sales. And as time goes on, fewer pristine examples remain available, which only increases their appeal among collectors, making the 1972 Eisenhower dollar not just a piece of history, but a potential hidden asset sitting right under people's noses. And this is exactly why you should never ignore older coins or assume they're all the same. Because behind what looks like a simple dollar coin could be a story of craftsmanship, rarity, and value waiting to be uncovered. So before you move on from this video or dismiss the coins you already have, take a moment to think about where they came from, how they were made, and what small details might be hiding in plain sight. Because in the world of coin collecting, the biggest discoveries don't always come from rare finds in the ground. They come from recognizing what others have overlooked. And your next valuable coin might not be something you need to search for at all. It might already be sitting with you right now, waiting for you to notice what makes it special. Stop scrolling, because the next coin you ignore could quietly be worth far more than you ever imagined. And today we're uncovering the hidden truth behind the 1974 Eisenhower dollar with no mint mark, a coin that looks ordinary, feels heavy in your hand, and often gets dismissed as just another old dollar. But what most people don't realize is that this exact coin, struck in Philadelphia without a mint mark, holds layers of value that only reveal themselves to those who know exactly what to look for. And if you've ever come across one of these large dollar coins featuring President Dwight D. Eisenhower on the front and the iconic eagle landing on the moon on the reverse, you might have overlooked it without a second thought. But here's where things get interesting, because while millions of these coins were produced, only a small percentage survive today in the kind of condition that collectors are actively searching for. And that's where the real opportunity begins, because in the world of coin collecting, condition isn't just important, it's everything. And most 1974 no mint mark Eisenhower dollars were used in circulation, meaning they were handled, scratched, dropped, and worn down over time, which makes finding one with strong original luster, sharp detail in Eisenhower's hair, and a clean, mark-free surface far more difficult than you might expect. And when a coin like that shows up, collectors take notice immediately, often paying significantly higher prices for examples graded in the upper mint state levels like MS65 or higher. But that's only one part of the story, because hidden within this issue are mint errors and subtle varieties that can transform what seems like a common coin into a highly desirable collectible. And these errors are exactly what serious collectors hunt for every day, including double dies where letters or numbers appear slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the minting process, off-center strikes where the design isn't perfectly aligned on the coin, and die cracks or unusual marks that occur during production. And while the average person might see these as flaws, collectors recognize them as rare minting mistakes that slipped through the system, making them unique and often much more valuable. And this is why paying attention to detail is so important, because one small feature, something as subtle as a slight doubling in the date or lettering, could mean the difference between a coin worth $1 and one worth hundreds. Now, imagine this for a moment. You're going through an old jar of coins, maybe something saved over the years or passed down from a family member, and you spot that familiar large Eisenhower dollar. At first, it seems like nothing special, just a big coin from the past, but then you start to look closer, noticing the shine, the detail, the way the light reflects off the surface. And suddenly you begin to realize that this coin might not be so ordinary after all. And that moment right there is what makes coin collecting so exciting, because value isn't always obvious. It's hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. And here's something even more surprising. Even if your 1974 Eisenhower dollar isn't in perfect condition or doesn't have a visible error, it can still hold collector value simply because of its originality and historical significance, as these coins represent the final era of large-sized dollar coins in the United States, connecting collectors not only to a former president, but also to a time when coin design and size were very different from what we see today. And as interest in these coins continues to grow, especially among new collectors entering the hobby, demand for high-quality examples keeps increasing, which means coins that were once ignored are now being reevaluated and appreciated in a whole new way. And this shift in perspective is exactly what creates opportunities for those who take the time to learn and observe. Because while most people will continue to overlook these coins, a small group of informed collectors will continue to search, identify, and secure the best examples available. And that's where you have the advantage, because now you know what to look for. You know that the absence of a mint mark means Philadelphia. You understand the importance of condition, and you're aware of the potential for valuable errors that others might miss. And that knowledge alone can completely change how you see the coins around you. So before you spend that Eisenhower dollar or toss it aside as just another piece of old currency, take a closer look, examine the surface, check the details, look for anything unusual, because the difference between an overlooked coin and a valuable find often comes down to a few seconds of attention. And as you continue exploring the world of coin collecting, you'll start to realize that the greatest discoveries aren't always found in rare auctions or expensive collections. They're found in everyday places, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to recognize their true value. And your next discovery could already be in your hands right now. Stop right there, because the next coin you ignore could quietly be worth far more than you ever imagined. And today we're diving deep into the 1977 Eisenhower dollar with no mint mark, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance, but hides surprising potential that most people completely overlook. And if you've ever come across one of these large, heavy dollar coins with President Dwight D. Eisenhower on the front and the iconic eagle landing on the moon on the back, there's a strong chance you didn't think twice about it. But here's the truth. That missing mint mark isn't a mistake at all. It actually means the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and during that time, Philadelphia coins typically didn't carry a mint mark, which is exactly why so many people assume these coins are common and not worth a second look. But that assumption is where opportunity begins, because while millions of 1977 Eisenhower dollars were produced, only a small percentage have survived in the kind of high-quality condition that serious collectors demand today. And that's where real value starts to appear, because in coin collecting, condition is everything. And most of these coins were released into circulation, meaning they were handled, scratched, and worn down over decades, which makes finding a 1977 no mint mark Eisenhower dollar with strong original luster, minimal contact marks, and sharp details in Eisenhower's portrait extremely difficult. And when collectors find examples in higher mint state grades like MS65 or above, those coins can command significantly higher prices compared to average circulated pieces, sometimes reaching into the hundreds depending on eye appeal and market demand. But that's only the beginning, because hidden within these coins are potential mint errors and varieties that can completely transform their value. And these are the kinds of discoveries that excite collectors the most, including double die errors where parts of the design, such as the date or lettering, appear slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during the minting process, off-center strikes where the design isn't perfectly positioned, and die cracks or unusual marks that occurred during production. And while these might look like flaws to the untrained eye, experienced collectors recognize them as rare minting mistakes that slip past quality control, making each one unique and often far more valuable. And this is why paying close attention to detail is so important. Because one small feature, something as subtle as a slight doubling in the numbers or letters, can mean the difference between a coin worth just $1 and one worth a significant premium. Now imagine this scenario. You're going through an old collection, maybe something inherited or forgotten over time, and you come across a 1977 Eisenhower dollar sitting quietly among other coins. At first, it doesn't stand out. It just looks like a big old coin from the past. But then you start to examine it more closely, noticing the shine, the clarity of the design, the absence of heavy wear, and suddenly you begin to realize that this coin might not be as ordinary as it seemed. And that moment right there is what makes coin collecting so exciting, because hidden value isn't always obvious. It's often right in front of you waiting to be discovered. And here's something even more surprising. Even if your coin isn't in perfect condition or doesn't show a clear error, it can still hold collector interest simply because of its originality and historical significance, as Eisenhower dollars represent the last era of large-size U.S. dollar coins and carry a strong connection to American history. honoring both a U.S. president and a legacy of the Apollo 11 moon landing, which adds an extra layer of meaning that collectors appreciate. And as more people enter the hobby and begin to explore coins from this era, demand for high-quality examples continues to grow, which means coins that were once overlooked are now being reevaluated and sought after. And this shift is exactly what creates opportunities for those who take the time to learn what others ignore. Because while most people will continue to pass over these coins without a second thought, a smaller group of informed collectors will keep searching, identifying, and collecting the best examples they can find. And that's where you gain the advantage. Because now you know that the missing mint mark isn't a flaw, but a clue. You understand the importance of condition, and you're aware that small details like errors and strike quality can dramatically impact value. And that knowledge alone can completely change how you see the coins around you. So before you spend that Eisenhower dollar or toss it aside as just another piece of old currency, take a closer look, examine the surface under good lighting, check for strong luster and clean fields. Look carefully at the date and lettering for any signs of doubling or unusual features, because the difference between an overlooked coin and a valuable discovery often comes down to just a few extra seconds of attention. And as you continue learning and exploring, you'll start to realize that the greatest finds in coin collecting don't always come from rare auctions or expensive purchases. They come from recognizing the value hidden in everyday coins. And your next valuable discovery might already be sitting in your collection right now, waiting for you to finally notice what makes it special.